Greetings, I'm Zachary Hepner. I'm pleased to share this Dvar Torah with you for Parashat Nitzavim, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, and so on. There is a key word in the July 4th, 1776 Declaration of Independence that is often overlooked. This key word has endowed the United States with the right of jurisdiction, not the powers of the earth, nor the laws of nature. The key word is the second and often overlooked word, unanimous. In reality, 70 delegates were appointed to the Constitutional Convention, but only 55 attended and 39 signed. To complicate matters further, 4 delegates opposed the document, but signed in order to give the impression of a unanimous Congress. This seminal event echoes a brilliant observation my father, my Avi Mori, has observed. Rambam, in his introduction to the Mishne Torah, gives all his rabbinic source sheets, but explicitly says that Talmud Bavli is the final authoritative text that superseded all the other rabbinic texts in cases of contradictions or disputed texts. His reasoning is, Hoyil v'cholotan hadvarim shebetalmud hiskimu alehen kol Yisrael. The Talmud was approved by the totality of the sages. The Talmud is full of conflicts and contradictions, but its inherent authority is due to the word kol, all of Israel. Unanimous acceptance of Talmud Bavli is what endows it with authority to all of Israel. My father brilliantly points out that this is also the case with the Musaf prayer on Rosh Hashanah, when we annually crown the Almighty. Quote, the theology that inspired the prologue to the coronation of God in Malchuyot, the portion of the Musaf Amidah that it introduces, justifying the coronation process. Rabbi Akiva's desire to justify the coronation process, that he decided that the Malchuyot should be placed in the third blessing of the Musaf, whose words clearly Mekadesh, Yisrael, Vehazmanim, whose words clearly imply that these festivals are determined by Jews even though they are merely human beings. The coronation of God by Israel is as dependent on Israel as the timing of Rosh Hashanah, or the acceptance of the authority of the Babylonian Talmud according to Maimonides. End quote. Parenthetically, Rambam's ruling is consistent with a later ruling that he innovated, which became a huge controversy in 16th century Tzfat. Mishne Torah, Hilchot Sanhedrin 4:11. Nirin li hadvarim she'im hiskimu kol hachachamim shebe'eretz Yisrael libnot dayanim v'lismoch otam harei elu smuchim. It appears to me that if all the wise men in Eretz Yisrael agree to appoint judges and convey smicha upon them, the smicha is binding. Again, a majority is insufficient because a unanimous agreement is necessary. Rambam requires unanimity of kol hachachamim shebe'eretz Yisrael, all the wise men of Eretz Yisrael. The wise men who count are the ones in Israel. A wise man in the diaspora does not have the right to dissent. This is why, when just one Jerusalem rabbi, Rabbi Moshe de Castro, rejected Rabbi Yaakov Be'erav's Sanhedrin, 16th century unanimity to create a Sanhedrin was never achieved. So I ask you now, was the Declaration of Independence truly unanimous? Some of the delegates didn't sign or agree with the document. I feel the committee that drafted this document must have learned the Mishne Torah we had just quoted. The declaration does not say the majority declaration of the 70 delegates. It says the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States. The states were unanimous, and that's what counts. The delegates endowed the states with their own authority, making the declaration unanimous. This leads us to Parashat Nitzavim. Moshe Rabbeinu begins Sefer Devarim on the plains of Moab with words of Musar, history, rebuke, and theology. As Rabbi Etzshalom has demonstrated, the Decalogue is introduced with over 5 parashiot, elucidating those 10 principal commandments. The Israelites were given a covenant in Horeb, or Mount Sinai. The Deuteronomic covenant is the one given in Moab. Ela divrei habrit be'eretz Moab. Devarim, verse 28, chapter 28, verse 69. These are the words of the covenant that God commanded Moses to make with Bnei Israel in the lands of Moab. Now proceed to the first verse of Parashat Nitzavim. Atem nitzavim hayom kolchem lifnei Hashem Elokechem, rashechem, shiftechem, ziknechem, v'shetrechem, kol ish Yisrael. All of you are standing today before God, your heads, your tribes, your elders, your officers, even all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and the stranger that's in the midst of your camp, from the hewer of your wood and the drawer of your water. The covenant in Moab was not a proxy covenant with delegates or right of attorney. It had the binding nature of a covenant of unanimity. Had King George III learned Mishne Torah, perhaps he would not have hired John Lind to write a rebuttal to the declaration, because you can pick away at a majority, not so the case with unanimity. Where Rambam got his notion of unanimous acceptances as fully binding is unclear to me. Perhaps from Shvira Gaon? Perhaps he truly innovated it on his own. Perhaps Rambam focused on the words, all of you, kulchem im atem nitzavim hayom, kulchem. Or perhaps Rambam's source, as my father has suggested, is the close read with the view of Rabbi Akiva, with a cojoining of Mekadesh Yisrael V'Hazmanim in the Malchuyot coronation blessing in the Rosh Hashanah Musaf. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova.